She is my entire business model. I would not be able to function, and I certainly could not lead a church. I wake up in a whole new world every day. I don't remember things that happened 10 minutes ago. There's no exaggeration in what I am saying. I am a disaster of a human being. The only thing I've got going for me is that God has given me a word. He has laid his hand on my life, and he has made me a messenger of his good news. Everything else is an utter disaster. And if you don't believe me, just ask my mom. She will be happy to tell you. But God gave me in Brooke someone who is in every way I needed the opposite of me, and someone who was in every way that counted the same. She walks by faith and not by sight. She trusts God and does not lean on her own understanding. She lives a life of victory and overcoming life. God has given her a word as well. Would you help me welcome my wife, Pastor Brooke?
Thank you, babe. All that, and then now I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous before. I am thankful for my husband. We traveled together for so long, with him speaking and me watching, and we grew together. And it's different for me to be up here more often now, but I am thankful to God. He's helping me, and I'm thankful for that. It's good. It feels good to step into the calling God has for you. So happy Family Sunday. We have a lot of families in here. I'm looking around. So many kids. Welcome. We love our kids at the Promised Land. We love our families. We are a family. So when we all come together, it's like big time family reunion. So happy day. And real quick before I get started, I want to remind everyone that on Family Sunday, we always have a special treat at the end of service. And those treats are always located at the same place. So when you exit out of here to go home and turn to go around, if you just keep walking all the way down, there will be a table set up outside. Just keep going down. You'll see the line form, and grab you a treat, a sweet treat this week, and enjoy it. And also, I want to remind everyone that signed up for virtual choir, you have received an email from Heath that tells you exactly what to do. So you can't completely be a part of the choir until you turn in your voice. So don't forget, you did the first step, you signed up, but you have until tomorrow, I believe, to do the second part. We might give you an extra day if you're nice. So anyway, God put some stuff on my heart this week. I was going to do my normal kids segment. I still consider this the kids segment, but as I was sharing it with Shules, I just felt like God had a little extra. Some of you, after I leave on Family Sunday, say, you could have just kept going. Well, you may regret having said that after today, because I'm going to keep going. So when some news went out this week, our governor spoke, right? And he spoke about, I don't even want to say the word. He spoke about masks. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, I'm going to delete my social media because I never want to log on and see Facebook again. I know what the responses are going to be, and I'm just not ready. At first, I thought, as I opened it up and I was looking, and I was going to give some examples, but they're not necessary. You don't even have to be on social media. You can just talk to your neighbor to know that we are living in a world filled with conflict. It's like every opportunity, every news broadcast, everything is breeding conflict right now. And I was looking at some of those posts, and my first thought was, I've never been pushed to this point, but I just want to delete all of it. I just want to get off of it. When I look sometimes at people arguing online, it reminds me a lot of my son, Brendan, who is 5. He's sitting over here hanging upside down off of a chair. And it reminds me of some of my conversations with him. So I'll give you guys an example, and then y'all can tell me if this is true. Brendan tells us all the time he had another family. So when he tells us that he only wants to eat chicken nuggets for every single meal, including breakfast, our first response is every parent's first response. You need to try other things. You think you only like chicken nuggets, but if you try other things, you'll realize how much great stuff is out there. To which his response is, I tried every other food in the world with my other family. He's tried it all. And I said, well, how big was your other family? Well, I had 1 million brothers and 1 million sisters. And I said, well, that must have been a tough mealtime for you guys, because that's a lot of people to get through the line, and not to mention, like, where did you all sit? And he said, well, we sat in our invisible chairs. I mean, okay, what am I supposed to say to that? But that's kind of what it's like when you see people going back and forth, and no one really cares if the other person is making sense, because they're just waiting to say their next thing, and they're just waiting to say their next part. And I'm used to that. But this week I got hit really hard because I started seeing brothers and sisters in Christ commenting to each other. And it literally broke my heart. People that I love dearly, and they're not in this church. People that I love dearly, though, talking in a way that if they were sitting at coffee, they would be having the time of their life. If they were shopping in the mall, they would be discussing outfits, and they'd be loving each other, and they'd leave and they'd be, I'm so glad. But when you put people behind a screen and that humanity goes away, somehow all of the filters come off. And I know that I've spoken on this a few times, and I told Schulz, I'm not focused on social media. We don't even all have social media. But I just felt like God was urging me to share what I have today. So a couple verses that came to mind to me in that moment that I'll just share, and then I'm going to move on from that part because I don't want to focus on that. But Proverbs 26:20. For lack of wood, the fire goes out. We all learned that a couple weeks ago, right? For lack of wood, the fire goes out. And where there is no whisperer, quarreling ceases. As charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. If we can resist every urge to put another piece of wood on that fire, to put another piece of kindling, if we can just tame our tongue to where nothing comes out of it that would add to the fire, right? And then in Proverbs 6, verse 16, these 6 things the Lord hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among the brethren. These verses are helpful. They go back to something I shared a couple months ago about effective conversation, using our tongue effectively, using our voice effectively. And I don't mean to keep harping on this, but until God lifts it from me, I'm going to keep coming back. And I believe there's a purpose in it. Today is Family Sunday, and normally I focus on our little guys. I'll show a video for them or that sort of thing. Today I'm talking a little to the little next level up, our bridge and our youth. And I know it said the bridge were dismissed, but you guys are actually a part of the family, so we want you in here with us. And so I'm talking to the bridge, I'm talking to the youth, but I'm also talking to all of us adults. And this really applies to us all. So, we've brought our youth into a challenging situation. And for a while, as parents, we're able to say, you're not going to get online. You're not going to get on social media. But at some point, our youth, our middle school kids, you guys grow into adulthood. And you're going to make your own choice. And you're going to discover that the reason we didn't want all of you on there is because of the mess that we've all created. The disaster that we have all created as adults, as the leaders of our society. And I want to be clear, I do not see our Promised Land members doing this, but I felt an urge to speak to it. And I'm going to go into it. I'm not just talking about the negative talk, but I'm talking about not just refraining from that, but also moving into our purpose and our voice and our calling. And youth, you are who we are depending on to make a change for us, to set the stage for us. And I'm calling our young people, our youth, and even our kids as they're listening today, this is your purpose. We as a church have to be a light on a hill, ready and willing to love unconditionally, to reach our brothers and sisters when we see them falling down, to pull them up, and to help them through. The Bible makes it very clear. It gives step-by-step instructions. When we see people hurting, when we see people make mistakes, we are not to shout it from the rooftops. We are not to post it in our post with our, I don't remember what that's called, vague booking, right? Where you're posting things that had happened and you don't want to say any names, but you're just going to put it out there. That's probably like old-fashioned now. I don't even know. But God called us. He said, go one to one. Take them out to eat. Take them out to dinner. Give them a hug. Find out where their pain is coming from. Find out where the voice is coming from. Find out what launched them to feel the way that they feel. And then walk with them, alongside them, through the things that they're facing. The main thing that I want to talk about today is the process that really pushed me over the edge this week, that I've been observing for a few weeks now. But I've started to see it in our society on such a large scale at this point that I feel like we have to address it at the church, because we are called to lead. We are called to be the loudest voice and to be the difference and to make the change. It's a process that I've seen where our human nature starts in a place of love and then gradually transitions. It takes a little bit of time, but gradually transitions from love to liking to disliking to hating. And I know this isn't a traditional subject. I know we want to focus on love and grace and hope, but I want to talk to us today about the power to hate. The power to hate. And so I want to examine some history that we have in our world of hate. And I'm going to start by going all the way back to the beginning of the Bible. Two brothers, Cain and Abel, and a little bit of jealousy. When I picture Cain and Abel, I think of my son, Brendan, and I think of, his little best friend, Hunter, in kindergarten, and they play together. And I can picture Cain and Abel as kids, just close in age, playing with one another, going out and finding sticks and rocks and collecting them and bringing them back into their parents. And the love that brothers have, I know they fought. We all fight with our siblings, right? They probably even hit each other, knocked each other on the ground, got angry. But at some point, a transition started to form, and a jealousy started to set in, and a trigger started to happen, all the way to the point that Cain and Abel could not live together in unity. Hate created death. Jealousy. Jealousy is a tool for hate. Some other examples I thought of are fear. Fear can trigger hate. I was looking last night at the Salem witch trials, And I was studying to see like what triggered a society to hate so deeply that they would start to search for people that they could, throw under the bus, for not a better way to say it. And I was looking, do y'all know that a 4-year-old child was put on trial at the Salem witch trials and placed into a prison for 9 months? If that is not an example of our mindset transitioning from a place of love, a baby, a child that had been born laying in her mother's arms, to 4 years later, her parents telling the authorities this child is a witch, that is an example of a transition from perfect love to the power of hate. It's a powerful feeling. What about Judas? In the Bible, he sat with Jesus, he went with Jesus, he walked with Jesus, he learned from Jesus, he loved Jesus. But when Jesus sat and said, someone here is going to turn on me, Judas made the decision. He turned and he gave a life over in hate. I was looking at just our history as a country, because I think that history in these moments is so crucial. When we start to look at where our society is going, it's so important that we go back and we look, when has this happened before? Can we see where this was repeated? Because history is very key to us learning from our mistakes. And I know there's been a lot of talk about history and things that have been left out and that sort, but even with the history that we have, even with the history that we can read, we can find plenty of examples of where we as a society as a whole turn to hate. And in too many of those examples, the church was at the core. And if we don't make up in our mind as we see these red flags, as we see these warning signs, that we as the church are prepared and ready to lock arms and to take the example that Jesus gave us to move forward and to be the light at the top of the hill, shining love down to our nation and to our world. In World War II, when America sent atomic bombs into Japan, it was out of anger. Anger creates hate, and thousands of families were taken out. I want to be careful. This is Family Sunday. I promise I'm not going to focus on this. But it's important that we pass these things down, that our youth, that our middle schoolers, and even that our children, your children are listening to you. And they are learning from you. And they are learning the good, and they are learning the bad. And they are going to apply the things that you teach them at this age. And they're listening to us here. We have a calling at this pulpit to share the things of God. Another example, and this one is deeper, it hurts more, it's closer to home, our marriages. How easy and how quickly can our marriages go from this infant stage of love and adoration and not seeing the imperfections, and then gradually some things start to bother you, and then gradually they get a little worse, and then it moves forward, and it can transition you into this power to hate. It takes these key elements, at least one of them, for us to transition ourselves into a place of love, into the power to hate. The power to hate is the ability to dehumanize and justify reactions and mindset. Once a person or a group of people has dehumanized another group of people in their minds even if it's not come out of their mouth, the limits and powers of hatred become unrestricted. Once you're no longer looking at someone as the brother and sister and human that they are, all restrictions are removed from your mind. And I can tell you, if you align yourself with any group that says everyone in our group is right, and everyone in this group over here is wrong and evil. I can tell you that you are missing out on the gospel in its entirety, because the Bible says in Isaiah, we are all like an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are like filthy rags. We all fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. So I want to go into a little example we have in the Bible that we talked about last week in depth with Purim. We talked about Queen Esther. And I'm just going to touch on a little piece of it because it's such a crucial example in the Bible where a whole group of people were dehumanized. Haman, who we can say was the worst, right? Last week we were booing him. Haman goes and he speaks with King Xerxes. And he tells him this about the Jewish people. There is an odd set of people. Okay, it's going to be a transition. He's going to walk him through. They're scattered through the province of your kingdom, and they just don't fit in. Their customs and ways are different from those of everybody else. Worse. They disregard the king's laws. They're an affront, and the king should no longer put up with them. And Haman goes on to tell the king, so he's dehumanized them in the king's mind, right? The king is not picturing his grandchildren. He's not picturing the people in his court. These people are just an object in his mind. They've been dehumanized. And Haman says, if it please the king, let orders be given that they be destroyed. I'll even pay for it myself. I'll deposit 375 tons of silver in the royal bank to finance the operation. The king slipped his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. And all of you that weren't there, we celebrated Purim last week. And at Purim, which is a Jewish festival, every time the name Haman is mentioned, everyone boos. And so that's what's going on here if you weren't here last week. The king slips the ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha and the Agagite, arch enemy of the Jews, and said, go ahead. It's your money. Do whatever you want with it. Do whatever you want with those people. But then, a few days later, it became personal. The king was awakened when his wife, whom he loved, whom God had placed in a position of power to speak life, to speak over the voices that were yelling hate and were yelling anger and were yelling jealousy and were yelling all of these things. But God had placed Queen Esther, the example of us as the church. She came to the king and she answered, if I have found favor in your eyes, O king, and if it please the king, give me my life. The humanity is coming back. And give my people their lives. We've been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, sold to be massacred, eliminated. If we had just been sold off into slavery, I wouldn't even have brought it up. Our troubles wouldn't have been worth bothering the king over. And King Xerxes exploded. Who? Where is he? This is monstrous. All of a sudden, this hate crime became so personal to him. All of a sudden, it quit being this dehumanized group that were in defiance to him, and it became the group that he loved, his wife, whom he honored and loved. Where is he? This is monstrous. But that's how easy it is when we let voices in. I spoke to the ladies. When we have voices in our mind that are speaking over us and speaking things into us, we can be deceived and tricked in a moment to turn an entire group of people from someone who God loves to someone who we hate. And it's not okay. The Bible says, let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil and cling to what is good. The danger of hate and where it gains its power is that it's an absolute. Hate breeds death. But the power of love is life. God said that the greatest love that we can show when we love someone to its complete power, that we're willing to lay down our life for our friends. But when we hate someone to the point of unhumanity, we're willing to do away with them in a moment. And we may not be willing to stop and kill someone right there in the street, but I can tell you that if you use your voice to destroy someone's heart and soul and mind, you have committed something that the Lord will not be pleased with. The thing about this world that we live in is that we are called for a purpose. And the Bible tells us that the world will hate us. The Bible tells us that we're not going to be loved by everyone. The Bible tells us that Jesus himself came to this earth and did works and miracles and great things, and still the world hated him. It says in John 15, "He who hates me hates my Father also. If I had not done among them the works which no one else did," he saved their lives, he healed their sick, he brought healing to their minds, he delivered their eyesight when they were blind, they would have no sin. But now they have seen and also hated both me and my Father. But this happened that the word might be fulfilled, which is written in their law. They hated me without a cause. Another verse that covers this in Luke 6:27. "But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you, and from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so also to them." We have a call in this life, in every platform that we decide to sign up on, in every grocery store that we decide to go to, in every restaurant that we decide to eat at. We have a call to serve the Lord in all things, to speak love and life and peace, even whenever people aren't speaking it back to us. When I was processing this, I just thought, God, if we can just learn that when we see these comments, if we can learn and train ourselves to only speak life. When we walk into situations and you see someone being yelled at, a clerk at a store or something, maybe they're trying to get someone to put on a mask, and show love. Step in. I don't care if you never wear a mask, if you're anti-mask, show love to the people who are being hurt. And I say that if they hate us, let it be because we loved too deeply. Let it be because we showed too much mercy. Let it be because we fed too many homeless, served too many hurting and dying souls, cared for too many outcasts, and then and only then can we echo the words of Jesus, "They hated me without a cause, so that the prophecy might be fulfilled." I want to talk for a moment to our youth and our middle schoolers and our kids that are all in here. We love having you in here on Family Sunday, and we're depending on you guys to be this voice in the future, to help us to learn. I took a few moments this week, and I wanted to get examples to put on the wall, but it didn't work out. But I took a few moments, and I started looking at some of our youth groups' social media. And it is encouraging. It is a breath of fresh air. It is them loving on people and caring for people and reaching out to people. And time after time, I saw them posting pictures of being in service in here, in this room, and pictures of them calling on other people to discover the love of Jesus. And we have an incredible future at Promised Land Church, and I want to set the example. I want to be a part of that. I was looking at, give our youth a hand. They're amazing. They had an incredible campfire here yesterday, and great turnout. I saw videos of them worshiping together. We are thankful for our children and our youth. You are incredible. I'm going to close with this, but I was remembering when we were talking about masks, and I'm not going to stay on that because I know there's feelings involved there, but I was remembering as a kid in the youth group, a boy in our youth group had to have a kidney transplant. And after he got out, he couldn't come to church unless he wore a mask. He was, kind of embarrassed because no one really wore masks then, and he didn't really want to come to church that way. And so my mom went to his mom and said, "Can you just get us a bunch of masks for the youth?" Because all of the youth would like to come to church alongside BJ wearing their masks. And I just want to say to our church here and to our church on streaming, I will wear a mask for you. I'll wear a mask on my head. I will wear a mask on my feet. I will wear a mask on my face. I don't care because I want to see the love of Jesus flow through this room, flow through our lives, make a difference in our hearts where our first mindset is not what little bit can I get away with, but how can I serve? How can I love others? What can I do to make a difference? And I'm tired of wearing the mask, and I'm not going to go there. I'm finished. And I'm tired of wearing the mask, and we're looking at getting those masks off for service. We're going to keep reassessing it at the end of each month. But I just want us to say, let's not turn things that don't matter into things that can create division, into things that can then turn to anger, into things that can then turn to bitterness, into things that can then become the power to hate. Let's be the example for the world of love and hope in this place.